When teaching soldering courses, it's a good idea to have the folks try out and practice their soldering with a variety of junk parts where you don't have to worry about breaking anything and you can get used to soldering because soldering is all about practice. So what I usually bring is I'll bring these are some printed circuit boards that I had made up that actually are the wrong design, so I don't use them, but they're great for teaching soldering. Some cut up pieces of perf board or proto board, some ancient capacitors, resistors, some headers, and then some old chips. And all of these kind of will help you to teach different techniques. One of the first things I would recommend, and the easiest, is to start with one of the printed circuit boards and maybe a resistor or something like that, and just go in here and place a resistor and solder it in place. And I'm not going to do it because I want you to do it on your own, but it doesn't matter where you put it, but just do it as practice. So it's a good practice for bending leads, putting them into boards, flipping the board over, soldering, and that sort of thing. You could also do the same thing with any of the capacitors that are here. They're all very flexible. They have plenty of long leads, so you can mess around with them and you're never breaking anything. The other thing I would recommend is practice working with headers. And headers are usually come in a length like this, and you need to trim them to the length. So for example, on this board, it's got a space here for a 5-pin header. So what I would do is I would use my side cutters. I would find 5, snip it. It's real easy, just snips right like that. And then place it in the board and then solder it. And you'll learn that you're going to need different tools in order to be able to do this, because otherwise, floop, it falls out. So you could use that blue tack stuff that's used to hold posters on walls. That holds it pretty well. It's kind of like silly putty. You could use clamps. You could use any sort of thing that will work. So we're testing out with headers is a good idea too. And then finally, as folks get into working with microcontrollers and microchips and everything, if they encounter packages like this is a dual inline package chip. And what I would recommend for these is use a piece of the perf board. Just take it and then you place the chip into the holes and then you do the soldering. And you're going to practice things like, okay, I need to very gently bend the pins to straighten them out so that I can get it to fit. And maybe I want to tack solder one corner and the other corner to hold it in place before I do the other ones. So again, it's just practice. The chips are a little bit more advanced, but again, these are old junk surplus chips and boards, so you aren't hurting anything, and it's good practice. So you could practice your soldering, making sure you're comfortable with everything using the iron. This is also a great way to practice desoldering with a solder sucker or solder wick, things like that, and just play with it from there. So that's what I usually have people start out with before they get into actually working on a kit or a adaptation project.